We can leave it undated and not notarized till you're ready. I work on Saturday mornings from home, so if it falls apart on a weekend, you can give me a call. We still won't be able to file till Monday morning, but I can have somebody standing at the door when they open and have them served the same day. Good, it's a plan. We said our goodbyes and hung up. I pulled Larry's card from my pocket and dialed. Larry, Matt Franks, how are you? I'm good, he replied. Are you ready for some sleazy fun? Well, sort of, but I want you to wait for my word, okay? No problem, Matt. What are we talking about? Can we meet in person? Yep, give me an hour and I'll meet you at the Dunkin' on 6. Sounds good, I replied. I was already waiting when he pulled into the lot. He got some coffee and a snack and then sat down opposite of me. I want you to put together the nasty file. Photos, video, recordings, everything you have. We need to find a way to get it to Shannon Stanton anonymously, maybe email. No problem. I know a guy who works the dark web, Larry stated. Is that all? We're not posting the videos to a porn site or sending the nasty to her parents or coworkers, he asked. Boy, he is sleazy, I thought. No, Kels will still have to be seen around town. I wouldn't want her so humiliated that she leaves town with Kate, and I still love the stupid woman, even if she isn't in love with me anymore. I slipped an envelope with $5,000 cash in it across the table. This should get you started, but let me know if you need more. Larry thumbed the cash and looked up at me. 3 would get this done. He may be sleazy, but at least he is honest. Keep the rest as a retainer. I may need your expertise later. Don't forget, sit on the file till I call you. I want them caught off guard and I have my reasons for letting them make the first move. Oh, we should also get an idea of what issues his wife has. Her medical history might play into anything we decide later. Is that possible? I asked a smiling Larry, and then I just smiled and nodded back to him. And did Bill ask you to look into Jason's college days? I'm looking for something I can use against them if we fight over custody. He again nodded his head and made a couple of notes in his notebook. We finished our coffees and chatted about his career as a cop and people we might know. We finished, shook hands, and parted ways. That was 3 months ago. I was brought back to reality as Bill arrived, and then shortly after his assistant and Larry. So it's go time, huh? Bill asked as everyone seated around us. Yep, sounds like it. Larry, do we know if Kels has been to a lawyer yet? Not that I'm aware of. I did a quick search of her emails after Bill called, and didn't see anything mentioned. I'll take a closer look today and we'll know by Monday morning. Larry stated. La 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 la. I didn't hear that. Bill exclaimed while plugging his ears with his index fingers. I can't know these things, Larry. Larry smiled and nodded while giving me a sly wink. What about Jason? Any dirty laundry? I asked hopefully. Yeah, he was investigated along with his frat, something to do with date rape, drugs, and some underage girls at parties. I got copies of everything and passed it along to Bill already. Bill looked up and nodded his confirmation and added, I've got them if we need them for the custody hearing. Pulling out the documents we have been working on for the past few months showed me where to sign. As I signed, Bill's assistant notarized, I spoke to the group. Larry, can you find out who Shannon Stanton hired as a lawyer and let Bill know? Then Bill, if he's worth anything, can you share our legal file with him? I asked the group. What if he's not a decent lawyer? Asked Bill. Then we get Shannon in touch with you somehow, but I would rather we do it the right way. Larry, I don't think we need to send her the nasty. Larry nodded as he sipped his coffee and Bill looked between the two of us. Bill, can I pick up the docs Monday afternoon? I'll give Kels the docs first myself and let her know what's going down. And then can you have her officially served on Tuesday? Bill nodded his understanding and spoke to his assistant about the fillings, and to get a server ready for Tuesday. And then I would like Jason and their company served on Tuesday afternoon. I guess we can take Shannon off the alienation suit since she will be in the loop soon enough. Bill, you can share the file with Shannon's lawyer on Monday afternoon, as long as he doesn't blow my chat with Kels Monday night. I sat back inside. By Wednesday this should be well underway. Matt, have you thought about where Kelsey will stay Monday night? Bill inquired. Not until just now. Any issue with her staying at the house for a few days? No, as long as you don't get a restraining order and she agrees. I wouldn't sleep with her. Legally, I don't think it's an issue, but might be uncomfortable for you. I would be concerned of what a less than scrupulous lawyer would do with that information. Bill added. Okay, I'll give her a week to find a spot. We aren't having sex now. I don't see a problem. Oh, did you mean actually sleep in the same bed? Oh, but our docs do give me temporary control of the house and Kate, right? I asked. Yes, till her lawyer files a motion and gets it all reversed, or till we all come to an agreement. I meant actually sleep in the same bed. It just might give a strange vibe to the filings, Bill stated. No worries, we are not sleeping together now. Hey Larry, what did you find out about Shannon's medical? She has been fighting depression and a bipolar disorder for years. Apparently the men's killed her sex drive and Mr. Wonderful went looking. I could tell Larry was going to add more, and cut himself off when he remembered I was married to the more Jason found. I smiled at him. I don't suppose we want to know how you found this out. Larry just smiled and Bill feigned shock. Bill, is that any concern to us? I asked. No, not now. It might play in later when we get to the custody part and find out who is staying with who and when. We can have it mentioned as a condition in the final draft for Caitlin to never be left alone with her. Bill was busy making notes on his iPad as he spoke. Okay, I don't see that being an issue since they don't have kids and they are divorcing as well. Might as well be safe than sorry later. I grimaced as I spoke. Divorce is a messed up business, I thought to myself. We all chatted for a few more minutes and one by one broke up our strategy session and moved on with our day. I felt a little depressed the rest of the weekend. My duties to be executed on Monday were weighing heavy on me. Kelsey never noticed, not that I expected her to. Sunday, I called my aunt and arranged for her to pick up Caitlin from school on Monday, and for her to spend the night so I could speak with Kelsey about some important family matters. They lived on a farm outside of town and Kate loved playing with their dogs and feeding the animals. She would drop Caitlin off at school Tuesday. I figured we would break the news to Caitlin Tuesday night. I let Caitlin know of the arrangements and she was excited, though a little confused why on and off his mom and dad needed some private time to discuss stuff. She bought it reluctantly. I'd been sleeping in the spare room more and again. Kelsey never mentioned it. She looked relieved when she saw me head to it at bedtime. I lay there Sunday night, reviewing my checklist and double-checking my plan, finally drifting off to sleep somewhere during the early morning hours. Monday morning, bright and early, I called my VP of operations and explained that I needed the week off. I also called my assistant and my senior production manager to pass on any details they needed to know while I was out. Around 1 p.m., I dropped into Bill's office and happened to catch Larry there as well. I saw the stack of papers on the desk and the flurry of activity in the office told me everyone had been busy. Matt, we filed at the courthouse this morning and here are Kelsey's documents like you asked, and we have arranged for the official service at your home around 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Does that work? Bill asked as he handed me the envelopes. Yeah, that should work. I'm going to encourage her to take the rest of the week off. I'll call you if that were to change, I responded. Fine. Bill paused for a moment to collect his thoughts before continuing. Larry found Shannon's lawyer and he is rather good. So I sent him our files and he was salivating. At first glance it looks like he will be suggesting a countersuit for adultery and a ton more of their assets than a 50-50 split, and he has promised not to do anything till the morning, so we are good there. Okay gentlemen, have we forgotten anything? I asked, a little depressed and down. It looks like Kelsey has an appointment with her attorney next week. Best I can tell from her calls and emails today. And Matt, please let me know if you need any other assistance. Yeah, Larry asked discreetly, earning another sharp look from Bill as to what we had going on. Okay, good. I will, Larry, but I think we are good. I responded, hoping I didn't need to get any dirtier than I already have. I guess it all depends on Kelsey and Jason now. I left Bill's office and texted Kelsey. Matt at 1.55, Kels, are you going to be home at a decent hour tonight? Kelsey at 2.02, 5.30-ish, why, what's up? Matt at 2.04. Nothing, I was a little distracted this weekend and wanted to try and make it up a little tonight. I arranged for Aunt Alex to get Kate tonight and stay over. Thought I would bring home dinner, any cravings? Kelsey at 2.16 said how sweet. Chinese. Matt then said done, I'll have dinner ready at 5.30. I felt like a total jerk adding her up this way. But it wasn't uncommon for me to do this lately. I hope she just figured I was going out of my way to be extra nice and loving. Monday night at 5.30. Kelsey got home around 5.15 and changed clothes as I set the table and distributed the food. I poured a couple of glasses of wine and was sitting at the table when she showed up. She took a long tug from her glass and we passed the food back and forth. We carried on small talk as we ate, and she didn't appear to have any clue about what was going to happen. How does the rest of your week look? I asked as our eating died down and we both were just picking at the favorites on our plates. Pretty light, did you want to plan something? She asked, giving me a sideways glance. No, I thought you might want to take the week off after we chat. I spoke in a monotone voice, trying to keep any emotion out of my voice. Why would I do that? I know, Kelsey. I started as I placed the envelope on the table in front of her. She just looked down at it and then back up at me, taking a sip of her wine. I know about Jason and you planning on filing for divorce. She coughed a little as she choked on her wine and gave me a blank stare. I could see the gears working in her head, trying to figure out how I knew, or what she was going to do to slow me down. What divorce? She finally choked out. The one you are meeting with a lawyer about next week, and the one Jason already filed on Shannon. I know you are in love with him and are planning to take Kate and leave me. I opened the packet for her and slid some of the photos towards her. Her eyes got big and she set her glass down and picked up the photos and looked through them. I could see her eyes moisten and she started to hiccup a little, as she does when she gets over emotional. I'm so sorry, Matthew. I never meant for any of this to happen. I don't know what else to say. She trailed off, looking down at the table. I know, Kelsey, I've known about your plans for months. I've had time to make some peace with it all. I'm greatly disappointed in you and I'm extremely hurt. I held my breath for a moment to regain my confidence and to control the anger swelling inside of me. The only thing I want to know is did I do something or not do something that drove you to Jason? Oh God, no. She exclaimed, looking me in the eyes for a second, and then retreated to the table. I'm guessing because of guilt and shame. It just kind of happened. You didn't do anything to drag me away. You were a great husband and father. I just fell for him. She finally got out. I was both disappointed and relieved. I guess I can't help it if she just fell out of love with me and decided to take Jason on. He has had plenty of time to worm his way into her heart and push me out, and there was nothing I could do now to prevent it. Our marriage was dead and all that was left was the paperwork. I pulled out the terms of the divorce and handed it to her. Here is the settlement I'm offering. I have already filed, so you don't have to unless you disagree with what I'm asking for. The highlights are the printup is in effect, so my trust is out of the question. I'm suggesting we sell anything we don't want and split it 50-50. This of course includes the house. Since I filed first, I'm asking for full custody of Caitlin and minimal child support from you. Of course you'll have a very liberal visitation schedule. I will keep her on my insurance, but of course you'll need to get your own. You keep your 401k and any investments you had coming into the marriage, as well as the inheritance you got from your mom. I wouldn't want to take anything that is truly yours from you. We'll split any investments we started as a couple, Kate, and I will stay in the house till we sell it. I'm also releasing $200,000 from my trust for you to set yourself up with. I would recommend you get a prenup and protect it if you get together with Jason as you planned. I would hate to see you lose anything. I want to make sure you can be self-sufficient on your own, since I'm asking not to pay any spousal support. I paused to watch her soak in what I just laid out for her. I think I should get Caitlin. A girl is going to need her mother as she matures, she said flatly. I agree completely, but you can do that remotely through visitations and calls. Frankly, I don't trust Jason with our daughter. I already know that he plans on trying to turn her away from me with gifts and his suave personality. Since he couldn't produce his own kid, he wants mine. And I think I'm being more than generous allowing him to have my wife already. He doesn't get my daughter as well. I understand you will want to negotiate the custody part. I suggest we let the lawyers earn their keep and try to be civil. I suggested as a peace offering when I saw her face go red during the discussion about Kate and Jason. He would never hurt her, and it will be up to you if you drive her away. Separating her from her mother is a good way to get that done. Well, either way, she stays with me until we get something else figured out. You can stay here in the master bedroom for a few nights or the week until you get things figured out. Kelsey, I still love you with all of my heart. I thought we were going to conquer the world together, but you're killing me here, and I don't know what else to do. My world is coming apart, and I'm trying hard to be fair and kind. I really don't want to hurt you the same way you've hurt me. Trust me though, if you go nuclear or let Jason get involved in our business, I will reply in kind. And darling, I have resources that neither of you have. My tone changed and she could finally hear the anger in my words. I could play hardball if pushed. She had seen it before. So please let's put this on simmer and let the lawyers figure it out. I would really like to be polite and courteous with you at any time we meet. I feel it will be important for Caitlin to see us be sociable. I plan for both of us to be deeply involved in our daughter's lives. I pleaded with her. I really didn't want this to be a knockdown drag-to-out fight. I'm off the rest of the week and according to the law, you have to be officially served. That is scheduled here at the house for 9 a.m. I didn't want you embarrassed at work, so you may consider calling in and taking a few days off as well. I know it will be tense for us both being home, but I thought we would sit down with Caitlin tomorrow night, or keep her home Wednesday to explain what's happening. Thoughts? Kelsey had stopped eating altogether by now and looked a little pale and sickly. I think the full effects of her actions were finally settling in on her. She only had herself to blame. I was fat, dumb, and happy until she fired off this storm. She looked up at me, did her best impression of a fish out of water, and then said, "Okay, Matt, you have obviously planned well and got ahead of us. I'm not sure how, but you did. I'll call into work first thing and at least be home through Wednesday. Do you think Alex can keep her tomorrow night as well? Maybe just keep her out of school tomorrow, and bring her home Wednesday morning so we can talk." "Larry the sleaze," I said proudly before continuing as she gave me a confused look. "My PI Larry found this out after I got some hints that something was rotten in Denmark. I'll call Aunt Alex right away. I think that's a great idea." Kelsey gave me a little head nod as I mentioned Larry while she picked up the papers I gave her and said goodnight. I guess she needed some alone time to process the event and watched her head into the master bedroom where she closed and locked the door, which wasn't a problem since I had moved the majority of my everyday clothes and needs into the spare room earlier. I called my aunt and explained we had a little family issue we were working through, and of course she agreed to keep Caitlin one more night and drop her off Wednesday mid-morning. I also spoke to Caitlin and let her know she wasn't going to school the next day. She was still confused but okay with it. I told her that Mom and I would explain everything on Wednesday. As I put things away and got ready for bed, I could hear Kelsey murmuring through the door, as if she were on the phone, and later light sobs as she mourned the loss of our marriage. Tuesday. I could hear Kelsey was up early and making plans about with her work as she came downstairs in casual clothes. Right at 9 she answered the door and accepted her official service and packet minus the photos and transcripts. She would have become familiar with those last night in her room. Right after she grabbed her keys and purse and took off, she didn't mention where to, but I figured it was to meet Jason, her lawyer, or someone else to commiserate with. I got a call from Bill later in the afternoon to let me know that both Jason and their company have been served with our suits. It also appeared that Jason was served with Shannon's countersuit around the same time, and was coming unglued. Bill mentioned I should probably stay low and watch out. Apparently the server mentioned some threats towards me from Jason. I never figured Jason would be too stupid since he was getting everything he wanted, but just in case I went to my gun safe and pulled out my 1911 and made sure it was loaded, locked, and tucked it down in my chair as I watched television. I was standing by the sink a few hours later when I saw a black BMW come to a sliding halt in my driveway, and an irate Jason jump out and open his rear door pulling a baseball bat out. I figured I'd better retreat to my chair where my cell phone was located and call 911. Knowing that the door was locked, I felt secure. I dialed 911 and told the operator that my wife's boyfriend was in my driveway with a baseball bat. They dispatched some units my way. Just about that time I heard a second vehicle arrive outside, figuring it to be Kelsey from the screaming and pitch of voices I was hearing. Then there was a high-pitched yelp. I jumped as my front door splintered from a firm kick, and a furious Jason stormed through yelling at the top of his lungs, "You got me fired and messed up my divorce." He was seething and foaming at the mouth. I slipped my right hand down onto the grip of the pistol. The feel of it calmed me. Jason was swinging the bat around wildly, and I could hear Kelsey screaming from outside, begging him to come back out. "I took your wife and now I'm going to take your daughter." I allowed him 5 more feet before I pulled my pistol from the seat cushion. His eyes were narrowed and could tell his judgment was compromised. His bat rose above his head but wasn't going to be very ineffective at 25 feet. The crack of the round in the chamber was deafening. The first round penetrated a couple of inches below the sternum xiphoid process, and to his right. The round grazed a rib as it penetrated his liver and exited somewhere in his back. I was always taught to triple tap at my targets, and working off instincts, the second round ignited fractions of a second after the first. Due to the recoil and having more control of my weapon, the second round was on target. hitting the center of the sternum and a couple of fingers above the xiphoid this time. I knew I was on target. The bullet shattered his sternum and punctured his heart. Jason slowed, and I think it was just momentum that carried him the next hobbled step, and I'm sure he was already collapsing as the third round exited the barrel. I caught a glimpse of movement by the door, but I was too focused on the task at hand to pay any attention. The final round entered Jason's slightly open mouth, splintering teeth, and exited at the base of his skull. If Jason wasn't dead after 2 rounds, the third round separating his brainstem made sure the job was done. The round exited and launched itself into the splintered front door, just missing Kelsey's own head by hundredths of an inch. She wasn't unscathed. Kelsey was splattered with her lover's skull and brain matter, which landed in her screaming mouth. Jason's body fell to its knees and then landed with some force on its belly and face. I could hear screaming now through my ringing ears. It surprised me at how loud the pistol was in close quarters. I was starting to hear sirens and the yelling of the responding officers. Not knowing how extreme the situation was, they laid Kelsey on her belly and handcuffed her in front of the open door. Her screeching and screaming had not reduced until she started vomiting when she released what she was covered in and tasting. I was still shocked at the events which unfolded in front of me, and finally focused on the gun pointed at my face and the screaming officer. "Freeze!" dropped the gun. He was ordering, and I gained some of my senses, dropping the weapon, and followed his commands to lay down on the blood-splattered floor. Epilogue. The next couple of weeks were hectic and overwhelming. Jason was pronounced dead at the scene. I learned later through police reports and eyewitness accounts that apparently he was served with my lawsuit and the updated divorce papers from his wife around the same time. It didn't take him long to figure out the photos came from me. Kelsey was standing next to him when he opened the envelope from his wife and confirmed that she had a matching set. Moments later, they both were called into the VP's office, where they confessed their affair, not realizing what the outcome would be. Knowing that my suit against the company would never go anywhere, and it didn't, the executives felt that they needed to make a statement by firing the managing director for participating in an affair with a subordinate, which they did. I became evil personified for Jason at that moment, and he felt I needed to pay for my standing up against him and ruining his well-laid plans. Grabbing one of his souvenir bats from his office, he decided to come to my house. Kelsey saw him through a second-floor conference room window and figured out where he might be going. She met him in our driveway and tried to calm him down before he hurt me. Of course, neither of them knew I was warned ahead of their arrival and was prepared. Kelsey received a black eye when Jason stiff-armed her as she tried to slow him down from entering our house. Other than that, she received no other injuries but would have nightmares for months that kept several counselors in business for a while. I spoke with her a time or two between the police interviews, prosecutors, and courtroom visits, but we never had a serious conversation about what occurred in our house. Kelsey became a shell of her former self. I guess losing her husband, lover, and daughter in less than 24 hours will do that. She never recovered. Kelsey stayed around for the divorce and maybe a month after it was finalized. She never even obtained an attorney or contested the divorce. I won custody of Caitlin easily. Much to my surprise, she never accepted her portions of the financial settlement. Bill had kept it for her but finally returned it to me a year later. She also never returned to our home and stayed with friends and family until she disappeared. She had a couple of supervised visits with Caitlin, but they were hit or miss. I made sure Caitlin was available for every planned visit. Whether we had confirmation from Kelsey or not, she would show up around every fourth visit. I was told that Kelsey became addicted to painkillers and other narcotics that were prescribed to calm her and help her become a functioning adult. And by the time she disappeared, she was jobless, friendless, and broke. Neither Caitlin, I, or anyone she knew had any contact information for her, and we never heard from her again. We have no idea whatever came of her. We lost a wife and a mother. The house was sold. Caitlin and I bought another home in her school district and tried to pick up our lives. We both saw counselors after the traumatic event. Me for 6 months, but eventually had to just bury the hurt and pain and move on. I had a daughter to raise as well as a life to lead. Caitlin spent a few years with a counselor on and off, partly due to her mother's reaction to the event and the abandonment. She had several issues to work through. It took me 3 years to be squared away enough to even think about dating. Several months later, I met a wonderful woman named Jo, who was understanding and respectful to Caitlin's and my experience. We dated much longer and slower than either of us wanted, but eventually moved into a physical relationship, and about 16 months later we married. We raised Caitlin and Joe's daughter as a family, but never expanded it. Our lives stabilized and improved over time. Our only hiccups were at Caitlin's major life events, her graduations from high school and college. I hired Larry each time to try and find Kelsey, but each lead led to a dead end. The general thinking was that she must have died alone and dissolute somewhere. It was a horrible experience, but we have made the best of it and moved on. I was so glad that I had time to create an action plan, and the right people in my corner to execute it accordingly.